and turning an unlikely and actually pretty and pleasant place into something useful and beautiful is right at the heart of our next story. Just a few miles south of here in the East Renfrewshire town of Barrhead, here's Caroline again.
What could be nicer than a walk in the country? What's different with this walk, however, is that it used to be a sewage works.
First time we came down, we were cutting down trees and cleaning up some of the rubbish that was lying about and getting rid of the sewage.
Well done.
There's like so much rubbish and stuff. I was like, is this actually going to get cleaned up?
Well, the answer was yes, it would get cleaned up, even though it would take a couple of months of this and then a few weeks of this, as well as loads of work by a host of community groups, school students and a bit of help from Mother Nature, so that now you'd hardly recognise the place. More meadow than manky. The journey from sewage works to wildflower garden began with a public vote to see which location would become the flagship for a community project involving the big lottery fund, Kew Gardens offshoot, Grow Wild and East Renfrewshire Council. Barrhead High School students also got involved, as well as apprentices from the agency Young Enterprise Scotland. Even so, in the middle of a cold, grey winter, it took a heavy dose of optimism to see how differently the place might look eventually.
The idea of bringing nice footpaths all the way through it, wildflowers, and hopefully with a lovely country walk for the people of Barrhead to enjoy. Young Enterprise get involved through their partnership with Renfrewshire Council. It's an ideal activity for Young Enterprise Scotland to be involved with. The young part of Young Enterprise Scotland, the pupils from Barrhead High School, different community groups, and also the lads that are employed by Young Enterprise Scotland, it's great training for them out on site.
This was the sewage works, delightfully enough, for Barrhead. I think it was built sometime in the 50s and was disused, I think, around about the 80s. So it's been disused now for about 30 years. It's overgrown, it's been a place where people have fly tipped, it's been neglected. And this is our, sort of our transformation starting today. We're reusing everything we find on site. We're not wanting to bring stuff in, so it's really an exercise in recycling as well. The old stone within the tanks, which would have been used as part of the sewage treatment process, is now it's been tested as being clean. We'll spread that out as a base layer. The roundabout just up there, when the guys were constructing that, they dug out a lot of ideal subsoil. Wildflowers are notoriously picky and fussy about their requirements, and if the soil was too rich, we'd simply get a mass of brambles, nettles, dockins and weeds, coming in here. So we're going for quite poor, sort of scrappy, nutritionally deficient soil, which is the ideal sort of medium in which to grow, a lot of our native wildflowers.
The arrival of spring brought a first flash of colour to the site as the Young Enterprise apprentices nurtured tens of thousands of seedlings in nearby greenhouses. And before long, local toddlers and playgroups were able to lend a hand too, turning up some wildlife surprises of their own. The success of this first project means that other derelict industrial sites across the UK could get the waterworks treatment next year.
Waterworks captured the imagination of the public, quite rightly so. It's the sewage works. You wouldn't expect waterworks to be a site for the community to access and for it to be beautiful and to have floral interest of any kind in wildflowers and wildlife as well.
The official opening at the end of the school term allowed the Barrhead students to return to see just how much they'd helped transform the whole area.
It's my great pleasure and privilege to welcome you all to Barrhead.
We had young folk doing chemistry tasting on the site. We had people from the art department working together to plan the layout for it. We've had history and geography looking at issues that are relevant to the young people through their curricular areas. So it has added a real dimension of interdisciplinary work to the work we were already engaged in.
The fantastic thing here, and that's what we got from the start as well, is that this was a real community project. the Barrhead High School, the men's shed group bringing older people and younger people together. And it really was just amazing the way they were all looking to work together, and that shared vision for how they wanted to transform this site into something that Barrhead could be really proud of. And I think even now you're really starting to see the difference. The train line's just behind us, and people on that route between Barrhead and Glasgow have been watching out of the window, wanting to know what's happening on the site over there.
And what was happening was that nature was really beginning to take hold and starting to do her thing.
It's really been a big community effort, and I think that's the most satisfying part of it.
And how do you hope to build on this success?
I would just like to see the flowers grow. We've got our first poppy, and sort of like cornflowers and sort of corn marigolds are up, which is great to see. I think that's the next stage for Mother Nature to take her course and just make the gardens grow.